She stood on my porch, waving a paper in my wife's face, shouting, "You owe $3,500. Pay up or get out." My wife didn't even flinch. She crumpled the so-called fine notice and tossed it back. Karen's eyes went wide, and before I could even ask what was going on, she already had her phone out. Within minutes, 2 police cruisers pulled up, lights flashing across my front yard. She pointed at me and screamed, "Arrest him! He's trespassing on HOA property!" The officer stepped closer, hand resting on his belt, scanning between me and Karen. I kept calm, but when I handed him my ID, his face went pale. He blinked twice, then stammered, "Judge, you live here?"
Karen froze for a second, then forced out a laugh. "Judge, he's lying. He forged that ID. This house belongs to the HOA." The officer didn't answer. He just kept staring at me like he was replaying every courtroom memory in his head. My wife crossed her arms and said quietly, "We don't need to prove anything. The deed is inside." Karen cut her off, snapping, "Don't listen to them, officer. They built this place without permission. He's not who he says he is." The younger cop stepped closer, whispering something to his partner, but I caught the words. "That's the same judge from the county courthouse." The tension grew heavier. Karen, desperate to keep control, suddenly yanked out her phone again, dialing someone. She hissed into the receiver, "Get here now. They're refusing to leave." The officer's jaw tightened. He looked at me and said carefully, "Sir, do you want to press charges for harassment?" Karen's face turned red, like she'd just been slapped. Before I could answer, 3 black SUVs rolled up, tires crunching over the gravel. Out stepped a group of men in matching jackets with the word "security" barely stitched on, clearly not official. Karen puffed up her chest and shouted, "These are HOA enforcement officers. They'll remove you if the cops won't." My wife let out a sharp laugh. "Enforcement? They look like Craigslist bodyguards." The older officer raised his hand. "Ma'am, these men have no authority here. This is a private residence." But Karen wasn't listening. She waved her arms dramatically. "Grab their things! Evict them!" One of the so-called guards stepped forward, reaching for our gate latch. That's when I pulled out my phone, tapped once, and the entire scene lit up with spotlights from hidden cameras. A calm, automated voice rang out from the speakers. "Warning, trespassing recorded. Evidence uploaded to county server." The fake guards froze mid-step, exchanging nervous looks. The officers turned to Karen, eyes narrowing. "Ma'am, you just tried to stage a fake eviction under police presence. Do you have any idea what that means?" Karen's smug smile finally cracked. Karen stuttered, her hands flailing. I was just enforcing community rules. He broke the HOA contract." The officer's voice turned sharp. "There is no legal HOA contract here. This property isn't even under your jurisdiction." My wife stepped inside for a moment and came back with a thick folder. She laid it flat on the porch rail, every page stamped with the county seal. "Here's the deed, here's the zoning, and here's the letter confirming we are exempt from any HOA interference." The officer flipped through the papers, nodding slowly. Karen tried to snatch them, but he pulled back and snapped, "Enough." Her face twisted with rage. She pointed at me and shouted, "He's tricking you all! I've been running this neighborhood for 10 years, and I say who stays and who goes!" Silence fell until the younger cop muttered, "Not anymore, you don't." At that exact moment, one of the so-called security guys whispered something into his radio and backed toward his SUV. My cameras caught it all. I leaned forward, voice calm but cutting. "Karen, every word you've said tonight is already in the judge's record." Her jaw dropped, realizing for the first time what that meant. Karen's bravado shattered. You can't use that against me! This is harassment!" she shrieked, but her voice cracked halfway through. The officer pulled out his own radio, speaking low but firm. "Requesting backup. Possible impersonation of law enforcement. Multiple trespassers." The so-called guards panicked.
One jumped back into the SUV, the engine sputtered to life, but before they could peel out, flashing red and blue filled the street. Real county deputies arriving fast. Karen spun around, desperate. "No, don't arrest them! They work for me!" One deputy marched straight up to her. "Ma'am, you've just attempted an illegal eviction, filed a false police call, and brought unlicensed security onto private property. That's 3 felonies before we even open the paperwork." My wife, calm as ever, whispered, "Told you this was a mistake." Karen's hands shook violently as she pointed at me one last time. "He doesn't belong here! He's abusing power because he's a judge!" The deputy turned, looking straight at her. "Ma'am, that's exactly why you're in trouble. You tried to scam the wrong man." Karen's knees buckled, and for the first time all night, she had nothing left to say.
They cuffed her right there on my porch, her protests echoing through the neighborhood. "This is illegal! I am the HOA!" she screamed. But the deputies didn't even flinch. One of them read her rights, while the fake security team was forced to line up against their SUVs, hands on their heads. Neighbors peeked out from behind curtains and half-open doors, phones in their hands recording every second. My wife leaned against me, whispering, "She wanted an audience. She got one." The older officer turned back to me, his tone softer now. "Judge, with your permission, we'll use your footage as primary evidence. This will end her entire HOA stunt." I nodded. "Upload it all. People deserve to know what she's been pulling." As Karen was shoved into the back of the cruiser, she tried one last jab. "This isn't over. You'll regret this." But the deputy shut the door, her voice muffled behind the glass. The crowd outside started clapping, the sound growing louder as word spread. For the first time that night, I let out a long breath. Justice wasn't just served, it was witnessed.
The deputies drove off with Karen still shouting from the back seat, but her voice faded into the night. The street slowly quieted as the fake security trucks were towed one by one. My wife finally sat on the porch steps, exhaustion in her eyes, but there was a spark of relief, too. "She really thought she could break us with a piece of paper," she murmured. I looked out over the neighborhood, families standing outside now, some with small kids clinging to their legs. One older man walked up, almost ashamed. "Judge, we never wanted her running things. She bullied us, threatened us. We didn't think anyone could stop her." His words carried the weight of years of silence. I placed a hand on his shoulder. "She's finished. The law will take care of her now." My wife added, "This street doesn't need a dictator. It needs neighbors." A deputy came back for a final word. "Sir, we'll keep you updated. With your testimony, she won't be running anything again." He paused, then gave a small nod of respect. As the last cruiser rolled away, I looked at the quiet homes around me. I didn't fight my way to the bench to be told I can't live on my own land, I said softly, more to myself than anyone else. And for the first time since moving here, the air felt lighter, like freedom had finally been restored.
The next morning, the headlines hit every local feed. HOA president arrested for fake fines and illegal eviction attempt. Karen's mugshot sat right at the top, her eyes wide and furious. My wife showed me the article over coffee, smirking. She wanted control, and now the whole county knows what she really is. By noon, neighbors started stopping by, not with complaints, but with relief. A single mom down the street said Karen fined her $200 for having chalk drawings on her driveway. An elderly veteran explained she once threatened to tow his truck because it looked too old. Each story built the same picture. Years of abuse finally shattered. Later that evening, I got a call from the courthouse. One of my fellow judges laughed on the line. "You really don't do things halfway, do you? Don't worry, we'll make sure she faces every charge. She'll never bully another family again." As I hung up, my wife slipped her hand into mine. "So, we can finally call this place home?" she asked. I looked out at the lake, the sun setting across the water, and nodded. Yeah, home. And no one, especially a fake queen of an HOA, is ever taking that from us again.